All right, so good evening, everyone. It's Thursday. What do you expect? I'm here. And of course, you can see the excitement in me. So 13 weeks ago, or let's say 12 weeks ago, we came here, we started preaching the gospel of men at the Men's Lounge. Today marks the 13th episode. Obviously tells you that we're going to go on a short break. And so we are very grateful to all of you who have been part of this show, all of you who have been watching us, and all of you who have been contributing to the show. It's been a success. Don't you agree with me? We've had great people coming through. We've had KOD, we've had Ebo JB, Alex Ahin, if I remember clearly. We've got Danny Amwating. We've got, a lot of people, lawyers, all sort of people coming through. Now, we're going to take a breather, okay? Just as we always do when it comes to production. And we'll be back in about 2 or 3 weeks. Just keep in touch. We'll be telling you all about it. And when we are back, it's going to even be more exciting. A lot of tweaks to the program. We'll be adding a lot of things, new things that you'd want to see. Now, in the next season, one of the things you're going to get to do is you're going to tell us who you want to see. And trust me, we'll deliver. Don't come and tell us you want to see some Mike Tyson or something. We won't be able to bring that. But anyway, just tell us who you want to see and we'll get the person into the studio. Last week, we discussed divorce and its impact when it comes to marriage with respect to men. We've been discussing, I think one of the exciting times was when we tried to define who a woman was. And I keep saying this, we spent an hour. 3 men, our ages totaling over 100 years, could not define a woman. Isn't that interesting? And in our comments, we had people saying that, look, why don't you guys bring a woman to define who they are? Then a woman sends us a text message. Guys, look, we don't even know who we are. Come on. It will be hotter this evening. Now, at your own request, you asked that we bring back that same topic we treated last week because there was more to it that we didn't finish. We still have these 2 people in the studio today, but we'll take this first break, and when we are back, we'll set the ball rolling. Welcome to the Men's Lounge. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still the Men's Lounge on ETV Ghana. Every Thursday at 9 p.m. you see my big head here and you know we are in the Men's Lounge. Of course, I shouldn't be telling you. Now, I've got people asking me what this is about. So this is Jamestown to Jamestown. If you have been following all that's been happening around, the trending news on the year of return, 400 years ago, the first black enslaved African was sent to Jamestown in Virginia, and it was on 20th of August. That is the marked date that the first black man arrived in Virginia, Jamestown. And so there's been an event quite remarkable called Jamestown to Jamestown, where currently, as I speak with you, there are about 350 African Americans who have come down just on that pilgrimage, Jamestown to Jamestown. That means Jamestown, Virginia to Jamestown, Accra, Ghana. You know, when we say Jamestown, Accra, we know what we are talking about. And so it's happening right now. There's been several people who have come through. There's been Samuel L. Jackson. There's also been Danny Glover out there. There's been a lot of them. I can't be mentioning them. And they're still ongoing throughout the year. But hey, let's come back. Let's come back to the studio. So last week, we spoke about divorce. And by popular request, it was such that we can't leave it because there was so much to cover on that story that we heard, on everything about divorce. And thankfully, we still have the 2 reverends, 1 pharmacist, 1 psychologist. And the moment I meet them, I also feel like a reverend. So today, my name is Reverend Nana Yao Madami. Gentlemen, good to see you.
Good to see you.
How have you been? How's the week?
It's been a good week.
Is it? Any new cases this week?
Oh, certainly.
From your end? Really?
Yeah.
It comes daily. You people like divorcing too much. It comes daily.
Well, not specific to divorce cases, but I see
others.
Clients almost daily. When it comes to divorce, it doesn't come too frequently, but then we have those cases also. And I've dealt with one this week anyway.
Really?
Yes. A divorce counseling case. Yes.
I see. Emmanuel, how have you been?
By God's grace, I'm doing well.
Did you do the cooking this week?
No.
It was done.
Yes.
Anyway, so last week we took a lot of issues home in terms of what we learned about what the divorce reasons are. Sometimes you don't even get the reasons, but it just comes. And also how, one of the things I remember I took home was the fact that women prepare much earlier to take the divorce
Yes.
than men.
Yes.
I thought I needed a little bit more clarification with that, because I got people asking even more questions about how do women, maybe you throw a little bit light on that again, because specifically people want to know, how is it? How are they able to do it? Are they stronger than men? Because men are seen as muscular, really, and we represent strength, power. But unfortunately, it's beginning to look like the women are stronger. I just needed to throw a little light, just shed a little light on that, because people are asking, what makes them prepare? Like how is it that they prepare better and they embrace? They don't embrace really, but it kind of goes down really well with them than men. How does it work?
Well, the pivot of marriage is actually women. They hold the home together. And research shows that men benefit more from the marriage psychologically, emotionally, than the men. Men benefit more than the women. So when it comes to the issue of preparing or sensing the issues that may end up in divorce, women are able to sense it much, much earlier because they are more involved in maintaining the marriage. So they seek the signals. And most of the time, they are the ones who are working it out that the marriage shouldn't collapse. Most of the time, the men are quite blind to the little things that could eventually lead to divorce. So at the time that divorce is imminent, the woman had already sensed it, and she had already prepared herself for it. And by the time she says this will no longer work out, it means she has really thought through and realized that it wouldn't work out. And it's as a result of this that they seem to be more prepared. So they have most of the problems rather pre-divorce, where they suffer emotionally and they struggle. But by the time they say enough is enough, they have prepared themselves. And that's where it comes as a shock to the men.
That's interesting. So everything is women. Look, now I'm beginning to feel like perhaps God should have even created women first, because it looks as though we were created first, but everything is them. Now they are more closer to God. They seem to be even braver than we are.
Yes.
And they are smarter. I'm sure people will argue this, but I think they are smarter than we are anyway. So tell me this. Using your experience, would you say divorce is necessary when it gets to a certain limit? And why would it be necessary? Is it to what is there to avoid to say divorce is necessary at some point when it comes to marriage?
I may say divorce is not good because the scripture well states that even God hates divorce, and something that God hates.
It's in the Bible?
Is in the
Stated
Bible.
in the Bible?
Yes.
Okay.
When you read Malachi chapter 2 verse 16, it has well stated that God hates divorce. And I see that it's not the matter of the side of God, but the side of we human. God knows better. And because God says it's not good, as soon as you are hit by that, it will really affect you. Excuse me, in my case, Daddy well said, I was praying that things will be good. That's why I was able to hold on to that yes. And while I was praying, I was still looking for other means whereby people might be talking to her so that she might come back home and other things. So I would say during that process, I realized that it affected so many things, like your confidence level, your happiness, all those things are being affected. You will surely drop down that things that you are able to do before, you can't do it.
So
Like, for example, like ministry. It affected my ministry so much too that for me to even stand at the pulpit and preach, that confidence was not there. That boldness wasn't there. What are you going to preach? All those things bothers your mind. And what will people say about you? All those things. And your happiness also is affected. Because when you maybe close from work or you close from church and you go home, who do you see? All those things are really,
So would you say there isn't any circumstance that would call divorce a necessary thing to have?
It's not necessary. You have to, if there's a way that you have to bring the woman back or the man back, you have to do it.
At all costs.
Because the side effect is so much. Yes. The side effect is so much.
All right. So I mean, I'm just wondering if there is any circumstance that makes divorce necessary.
Well, in the face or in the eyes of the law, they use the term which I brought out last week, that the divorce has gone, the marriage has gone beyond repair. And they have a number of things they look at in order to come to that conclusion. So for instance, if there has been desertion, one of the parties left the marriage for a long time, and we can't predict that that person is coming back or not. The court may look into that. But what is the most critical thing, and which I will say as a psychologist, is if there is so much abuse that there could even be death, we should be able to call that marriage out first for separation, not for divorce. And that is where counseling is very critical. The two parties have to be helped to be able to resolve issues whilst they are separated physically, so that there wouldn't be interaction that could lead to maybe the death or someone being hurt. Yes. So when it comes to that, we may call for that. But then I'll always say that divorce should be the very, very last thing that anyone should think of. And that's why we need intervention. Yes.
And so you'd rather separation as compared to a direct divorce?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, even the divorce takes time to
It takes time,
it.
yes.
So then, are these the only circumstances, obviously, that would warrant divorce? I mean, if there is physical abuse, obviously getting to a certain extent. What about some pettiness? I mean, some relationships go bad out of very petty things. You said that last week.
Yeah.
And so for those, if it keeps, if it continues and you feel you can't take it anymore, what would you do? Would you not just, or that also you would separate for a while and probably see the difference?
This is the critical need of marital counseling and premarital counseling. Most of these little things that result in divorce, when you look at them, you realize there are issues that could have been dealt with. And if those people were to have people in their lives who could help them, especially professionals, they would have been able to resolve those issues. So I would say that the very first thing people should do is that pre-marriage, they must have their counseling. And this will help them to be able to see the indicators that this marriage is heading for a trouble. And then because they have had the pre-marital counseling, they have this neutral person that they can look up to, who will look at issues very dispassionately and help them through. And if we were to be doing this, I believe we would have seen fewer divorce cases. Let me say that this should be done with professionals. It is not everyone that calls himself or herself a counselor or a psychologist. That person would have been trained for a number of years. That person should have been licensed. That person should have had internship and be supervised. and be seen to be very qualified to do the work.
And so,
Can I say a little about what?
yes, go ahead.
If I can use my case, for example, I had my premarital counseling after my engagement. I had engagement in September. Then we had a wedding in January. So after the engagement, before a friend introduced me to a counselor, by the grace of God, when we went through within that short time, we realized that we weren't compatible, weren't in agreement, because at a little offense, or what I say, offenses may come, then we'll flare up and
Now hold on. So then you saw the signs much earlier. So why did you leave it to continue? Because so you saw the signs even much earlier, and then you tried to stay in it for 10 years. And then from the 10th year, I mean, I'd say it was just getting too much for you, right?
Yes. So as I'm saying, excuse me, like I was saying, when I got to know that we weren't able to, go on, by then we have already done the first, that's the customary marriage that we say, we say it, yes. And I came back and I said, how would the people outside there say it? After moving the whole crowd to do such a thing, and later on people will come and say, so after doing all this thing, you couldn't go on to get married. So what the people would say outside there was a thing that was baffling my mind. And the second one too was, we can use prayer to amend things. And the third one was, we're not coming from the same family, we are not coming from the same house. Different the training that he had and different training also that I had. So it will be well. So that was some of the advices that we're getting.
But before you move on, so Albright, do you think it was a wrong call at that point? Especially with regards to the very first point that says that, so what society will say, I mean, after all this, you couldn't continue. Would that, I don't know, but would you call it a wrong, would you say it was a wrong call from that beginning?
Well, that is the pressure that comes to bear on us, generally. And this is the reason why professionals will mostly advise that people should go through premarital counseling even before they make an announcement in church that they are considering marriage. Because immediately that call is made in church, what people understand is that they are going through counseling for marriage. But it should have been that they are going through counseling to assess whether they could get married.
Is that what counseling is about?
Yes.
It's not for marriage.
It helps you to understand yourself, understand your expectations, understand what the other person may be bringing into the marriage, so that you can make a decision whether you want to get married or not. So I have had clients, a number of clients, who went through the counseling fully, 6 months, but never got married. And they remain very good friends, but they understood that their marriage wouldn't work.
Wow. So this week I learned something else again. So there's been cases where you'd have people come through counseling and then realize that we can't.
Yes.
And they pull off.
Yes.
Guys, if you're just joining us, we are still in the men's lounge, and it looks as though every week something new comes up. Unless it's new to me, but perhaps, as far as it's new to me, it will be new to a lot of people, that what people go through counseling for a number of months, and then they end up deciding, I don't think we can continue this, and then that's the end of it, and everyone is just cool. Feel free and join us. Feel free and join us on our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and it's at ETV Ghana. Let your messages also start coming through On WhatsApp, that's 020-2222-054. We'll take our first break. We'll be back. Please stay tuned. Back if you're just joining us, is the Men's Lounge. Obviously, our 13th episode, which marks the very final episode for this season. It doesn't mean we are going and won't come back. We'll come back with a more revamped show, a more packed show. Let me keep the secrets to myself. They are all surprised. I don't want to tell you more about it. So you saw the financial tip. Like I keep saying, on the Men's Lounge, we grow the younger folks to become responsible men. What you saw there is a financial tip. When you invest into anything, it's just like business. When the ship starts to sink, don't stay in the ship. Jump out of it. Move on. Find another one. Do what can help you get there. Just focus on the very final bit of being successful. Let the past go. Yeah? That's what it is about with the financial tip. So coming back to the studio, I want to know from Albright. So are there cases that you face, or are there cases in the court that ends up that the court cannot grant the request for divorce?
I would say that technically, when one party files for divorce, the other party has to respond to whatever petitions the other party files. Technically, if that other person responds and gives reasonable explanation as to why the marriage will rather work and that there is no need for divorce, the court will look into that. And as we have the laws now, the other person has to agree to the divorce. If the other person does not agree, it's difficult to grant a divorce. It will be quite difficult for the court. And if the other person says that, from the look of things, there is the need to go for ADR, alternative dispute resolution, which could also include going back for counseling, the court may delay the divorce petition. And if the parties come back and say, well, it will work out, that ends it. So I believe the court gives a lot of opportunity for people to repair the marriage than to say that it has gone beyond repairs.
No, but you see, in recent times, there's something interesting that I found out, that when people, when a marriage gets dissolved, so what happens is that in terms of property, there's this almost very huge percentage that goes to the woman and all these things. Would that not be an obvious hindrance to somebody wanting to divorce, especially when the woman wants to divorce and the man, she's like, you're going to take all these things away. Look, I'm never going to grant, I won't agree. And so what happens? You're going to stay in it? Or you stay out of the marriage, but you consider it as not divorced? I mean, is it that we are saying that it is only when the other party responds that there can be divorce? Even when the court realizes that, look, this matter deserves to be given that divorce. I mean, it has to be only when the other party responds?
Well,
isn't there anything that gives the court directly the right to just dissolve it? There isn't?
Well, because I'm not a lawyer, it's difficult to go into the merits of that.
Voila. So then perhaps I should be... Look, if any lawyer is watching us right now, please help us. Now, what I want to know, or what we want to know is that, so if the other party does not respond or hasn't responded, and then the court obviously finds the issues to be worth, granting when it comes to divorce, can't the court just grant it without waiting for the other party? If any lawyer is watching, please help us. We need to get this information. So,
but then, what I can say, I said that technically so that I wouldn't be speaking directly for a lawyer.
I agree.
But then, the court has that power that it can determine that the other party is simply being mischievous. In that case, they will grant the judgment. They will give the judgment. Whether the other party enters into judgment or not, they will go ahead and do it anyway. Yes.
So, oftentimes, okay, again, I'm sure this is going to sound like looking for a lawyer or something, but so what's the process? I want to know the process of divorce. So, do you need to acquire an attorney or a lawyer to help you before you probably file for divorce, or you can just by how you feel or where you feel you are and you feel it's not going to continue, it won't work, you just go to the courts and apply for it. How is it done?
With my clients, the few who have gone through the process. In fact, I am very happy to announce that about 99% of people who have gone through with me when it comes to divorce counseling never ended up divorced. They rather resolved the issue and moved on. But that 1%, what I normally tell them is, it is better to seek legal counsel. Let a lawyer help you than you going through it just by yourself, because you may not understand the legal ramifications as well as a lawyer will do. But the issue of finances comes in, but then we have something called legal aid. They are supposed to assist people who may not have the means to be able to foot all that goes into seeking legal redress. So they are also able to help. When they come in, they help the process better. But basically, it has to do with going to the court to file and give reasons for which you believe your marriage can no longer work. When that is done, the court will serve the other party with the reasons that you gave and give the party a reasonable time to respond. When the other party responds, the two sides will look into it, a date will be set, and then the proceedings will begin. And when the court sees merit in the case, then the divorce may be granted.
Okay, I think that's fair. That's fair. But I still want to hear from a lawyer who has that legal background on what the law. Okay, let's just say what the law says when it comes to divorce. Whether ideally the person has to accept or respond before it can happen. If the courts cannot just decide and pass a judgment on that. So I want to know this. You have been there. I mean, you have gone through divorce.
Okay.
And obviously, you are smiling now, remarried. So, I want to know this. What are the main things that can lead to divorce? One of the things I've heard so much in doing a little research is cheating. But what I don't know is whether it's part of the main things that leads to divorce.
On my case, it wasn't cheating, but I may say we're not in agreement in so many things. And that was one of those things. And secondly, I may say it got to a time that she leaves home at his own convenient time. Then she will come back home late, and a lot of things that I cannot mention it. So those things were going on till the final time that she said she will no longer go with me. Then I have to leave her at where we were. Then I left to other place. Yeah. So I was there when she brought a letter from the ADR. So we went to the ADR, and things wouldn't work out for us. I remember at the ADR, I told the woman who was there by then that I wanted her to come back home. And my lady said no, she wouldn't come back home. And she needed a divorce. So the lady advised that we have to pursue to the court. So we went to I did not go to the court. So from there we went home. So in about a month or two later, I had a summons letter from the court, and they gave me a date to respond. So that was how mine happened.
So couldn't you have chosen not to respond? Since you wanted
so we would not go through lawyer and other things. It was direct.
Direct.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It was direct. So we did not try any lawyer or that kind of thing.
All right. Listening to the people, I mean, obviously your clients or most of your clients that come to you, what are some of the main things that bring that decision of them wanting to divorce?
As I said during the last show, it could be anything that has not been handled well. But then more specifically, most of the issues hinge on personality differences, which in fact are not supposed to bring any separation or divorce if the people had understood what those differences are. For example, it is natural that you should admire somebody who is not like you. And that's a personality issue. So for instance, if you are much of an outgoing person, you love to talk more, of course you would gravitate more towards somebody who is less outgoing and listens more.
Okay.
But then within the marriage, that very thing becomes a problem, where you feel the person is not in alignment with your lifestyle. People begin to say, but you don't talk at all. Say something. And that has been the very reason why you loved the person, because the person could listen to you without talking much. Okay, so basically personality issues. Then also anger issues. And in fact, when it comes to anger issues, the counsel is that when it shows up, it's important to stop the premarital counseling and focus on the person who has anger issues. Finish dealing with the anger issues before you continue with the premarital counseling. Because within the marriage, those anger issues come in to develop into a huge problem. And if the person is not able to work on the anger issues, it's very important for the two to decide whether this marriage will work if this anger issue has not been resolved. So personality issues, anger issues. Then also medical issues could be an issue in marriage. Medical issues can result in a number of things. For instance, if the person has a medical condition that will make it impossible for the person to become pregnant or to impregnate, that could be a factor. And in fact, the research shows that marriages in which there is no child are more susceptible to divorce than when there are children.
So then it means that children are one of the good reasons to keep marriages together.
Yes, they are. They are.
So what about cheating? Because everybody talks about cheating, and then I didn't hear you mention that really.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's not a prerequisite for divorce?
Cheating is an issue, and it's really a serious issue. That's infidelity in marriage. It's a serious issue. But even with that, it depends upon how the two handle it. There could be cheating, and one person in a marriage would say that, well, I will forgive the person, give the person a second chance. Their marriage will still go on. There could be another person who will say, enough is enough. That's the first time and that's the last. I wouldn't take it any longer. That will impact that marriage in that wise. So that is not the real issue. The issue rather is how the people deal with it. Yes.
And so then is it to say that, look, it's expected to happen, and so it's a matter of how it is dealt with that will either lead to the discussion of divorce or not when it comes to infidelity?
We shouldn't say that it is expected to happen.
But on one of my episodes, now somebody actually says that cheating is the right of men.
It is not.
Really?
Then what about the women?
Oh, they haven't said it's a right for women. They said it's a right for men, so I can't speak for the women.
It is not.
It is not.
Cheating is a no-no. It really tears the marriage apart. It is a no-no. But then, when we are preparing people for marriage, they are helped to understand that anything could happen in your marriage, but the way you handle it is more important than what happens. So whether it is infidelity or something else, you must know how to handle it, which of course is done during the premarital counseling. But that is not a license for it to happen.
I see. Emmanuel,
Can I add a little?
please, please.
I will always advise that premarital counseling is very, very important. I've met a situation whereby the brother, I would say the man, before they got married, he told me when the woman is angry, he's able to, he can destroy all the things that are at their, what do you call it, at their living room before she will come back to herself. And another situation too that I met one time was, he said if the woman doesn't see blood, she will never settle down. So when you realize that all these things are going on, and by grace you are able to go through premarital counseling, all these things will come up. And the advice will be coming in. And if that thing could not stop, then I don't think you have to go on to prepare for that marriage. Because for you to say maybe I'm going to change the man or change the woman, you can't change anybody. It is God and through the Holy Spirit who can change a person. So when you realize that these things are popping in, you rather put an end, advise that you put an end to it than to say, I'm going to pray that the man will change or the woman will change. So that's why I'm saying that pre-marital counseling
It's very important.
is very, very important.
We brought up an issue on blood. We will need to clarify that because I think it's a very important one. Yeah, what do you mean by when the woman doesn't see blood?
Either to take something like a knife or something like a wood to hit the man or to hit the woman.
So that comes to the character that
Yes.
you mentioned much earlier then. That's
So that's
deep,
what I want to say.
That's it. And, you know, people downplay on counseling a lot. That's why I'm hammering that. It is a lifesaver.
So what about
Because-
those? There are people who don't believe in counseling.
Yes, and they are simply hurting themselves.
Yes.
I have had people who come into counseling reluctantly. Then they begin to enjoy it so much that they don't want it to end.
Yes.
The misconception about counseling is the issue. I have had a lot of people who, after the premarital counseling, go out to look for people for me.
Yes.
They begin to tell people how good it is, they advocate for it, and they bring friends to come and have it. I remember there was this client who impressed it upon somebody to come into premarital counseling a week to the marriage, which we normally don't do. But he came in pleading that half counseling is better for him than no counseling. From what the friend told him, he really needed it. And this is because issues like what he's saying, some people can be very violent and they could hide it. But when they come before a professional, along the way, the indicators will show that this is how the person is like. And that's a lifesaver. For instance, when it comes to sex, when counselors want to find out the past sexual experience of counselees, they can get offended. But it is a way to help them because we have a disorder like sadomasochistic disorder, where there are some people, until they see blood, until the other party is hurt, they will not be satisfied in sex. But we have ways of uncovering all those things and helping the people and preserving or protecting the one who would have gone into a marriage like that only to be hurt. So there is a lot that we deal with in the premarital. It's really a lifesaver.
Again, I'm beginning to feel like this is another whole topic. Because, so, okay, I'll let it rest. Soon I'll be getting on the phone lines, and the phone number will be 0555 657278. Remember, 0555 657278. I'll go on this break, and when we are back, the phone lines are open. Feel free and call us. Join us. Tell us what you think. Ask questions. I have Reverend Albright here. I have Emmanuel also here. And I have Reverend Ernest also. Yep, sorry. Yes, Reverend Edward here. And Reverend Nanaya Odami also here. We will help you. We will answer all your questions. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. All right, I'm sure. I mean, it's getting heated in here, so you might be wondering what's going on. I just asked the question that, obviously. So, what are some of the questions? Obviously, Mr. Albright will be asking some of the counselees when they come, and then he goes like, "Well, they have some tools, and you know what the tool name is? Some lie detector, right?" And that reminds Edward of. Anyway, we'll just end it here. We don't know. So the phone lines are open. Feel free and join us. The number is 0555 657278. Call us, ask your questions, and we're right here to answer you. I did mention from the start that this is the very last episode for this season, and we're going to take a break of about 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll be back with a fully revamped show with new things. I'll be telling you some of the things. Like I said earlier, you get to tell me who you want to see every week, and we make sure myself, my producers, everybody, we come together. Even we have to spend so much money to bring the person. We'll try and bring the person so that you can get to interact with the person. Other things is that we are likely to bring in-house audience to be part of the show, and if you want to be part of it, there will be so much you have to do. Make sure you listen to YFM, listen to Happy FM, and watch ETV, because there will be means through which you can get to be part of the show. We'll tell you all that as the time comes up. We are back. So, we already have a caller. Good evening.
Good evening.
Your name and where you are calling from?
My name is I'm Nat, Pastor Nat. I'm calling from Alaju.
Pastor Nat, please let's hear you.
Okay. I'm listening to the program actually, and I want to ask some few questions concerning the effect on divorce on children and children. How the effect it will have on children. If there is a divorce, what will happen to the children in the family? Okay.
So we'll get you the answer. Thank you very much for being part of this.
And also the courses, the micro courses. We have 3 types of courses: the micro courses, the demographic courses. They were able to discuss on interpersonal courses. I want to learn something about the micro courses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So this scholar wants to know, first of all, the effects of divorce on the children. And then secondly, he wants to also know the micro courses. Obviously, we've spoken about the interpersonal courses, he said. So now the micro courses. All right.
Children suffer a lot when divorce happens. But that also depends upon the age at which the children were before the divorce happens. For instance, if this is a child maybe 5 years and there is divorce, the issue of where the child will be comes in. The court knows what to do, but then the parents might want custody. So this person wants the child to be with him, the other person wants the child to be with her.
All right, just take a breather. There's a caller. Caller, good evening.
Good evening.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from, and then go ahead and shoot.
Okay. My name is Gideon. Yes, I'm Gideon, calling from Koforidua.
Okay, Gideon, let's hear you.
Okay, first of all, I'll say that this is a good program that I'm enjoying right here. And
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to see Reverend Albright there, my mentor. I have a quick question, and that is the issue of every pastor being a counselor without training. And a lot of things are being done in the church today, I will call marriage vetting, and the name of counseling. What do you make of that? And how can counseling be well structured in the church so that couples to be and couples can have the best of their married life?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gideon, and we are grateful for your call. I'm sure Albright and Edward will deal with your question very well. Thank you very much. So he wants to know You had the questions yourself.
Yes.
What the pastors are doing, whether the pastors, every pastor is a counselor, or I'm sure there may be some difference. Obviously, you'll be able to put through, but let's finish the previous one, and then we can jump on that one.
Yes. So first of all, Gideon, thank you so much for that call. One of my mentees that I'm very proud of.
Don't forget we didn't finish the other question.
Yes.
We were on that one, so let's go back to that one.
Yes. So with the children, when they are much younger, it is harder on them because there is this confusion of what is really happening. Why is it that I can no longer live with father and mother? Where is my father? Where is my mother? All those things leave a lot of confusion in their minds. And when they begin to grow up, it doesn't end there. You know, it sinks deep into them. They may begin to mistrust whoever they think, whichever gender they think was part of the problem. For instance, if they feel that daddy was the problem and that child is a girl, that child may not be able to trust men any longer. Even when that child gets married without proper counseling, that person may anticipate divorce in the marriage, and that could in itself also lead to divorce.
Okay, all right, before you go on, let me take these messages from our pages. So this is coming from our page, Facebook, and the first one says, I'm truly learning a lot from this program. Kudos, Nanaya Odami. Thank you very much, and this is Nathaniel Kunto. Nathaniel, thank you for being part of this. And we also have another from Housem Clients. Only God and the Holy Spirit can change the person. How come it didn't work for him? God is busy. Can people take responsibility for their own lives? I beg. Anyway, thank you for being part of this. Are you saying God is busy? Really? Okay, so this one says, good evening, Men's Lounge. I have been in a relationship with my girlfriend for about 2 years. I can see we are totally different, but she has really helped me financially. But I'm finding it difficult to quit from this relationship. I need your advice. Really love your show. Keep on with it. Good works. You should have added your name, but thank you anyway. We'll give you some response direct to your number. Or you can also follow Reverend Albright. You can find him and he'll help you out. So another one also coming from, okay, this one only says very educative program. Thank you very much. Please add your name and where you text from next time so we can acknowledge you. Let's go back.
Yes. So that could affect the child throughout the child's life if there is no intervention. If the children are older, they might understand the issues better, but that doesn't make it to have a less impact on them anyway. Yes.
Okay. Let's look at the what Gideon had asked earlier about pastors, what's happening lately. They call it marriage vetting. You know, let's talk swiftly on that because we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
So we can thank our viewers and everything, and then we can go.
Yeah. First of all, let me congratulate pastors. They are doing a good job, and they've done.
We.
Yes.
You know,
They've done a good job over the years. But then the fact is that there is a difference between marital counseling and marital education. There is a difference between counseling and giving of advice. And not every pastor is a counselor. The one that calls himself or herself a counselor will need to go through proper training and be licensed by the Ghana Psychology Council and have a PIN to practice.
Okay.
Yes. And I will say that, yes, there are some churches that do purely vetting instead of counseling. But I'm also happy to say that most churches have changed a lot and they are engaging professionals to do their work for them.
Okay.
And one of the places they can get those professionals are the associations, like the Ghana Psychological Association, Ghana National Association of Certificated Counselors. They can get professionals from them to help them.
Okay. Edward, this is more like your last words before I crucify you.
Like my brother Albright is saying, the pastors are doing well, but for them to add counseling to their work is another thing. Well, counseling itself is a ministry of itself, and one needs to go through training and other things because where churches whereby they acknowledge counseling as a ministry, the people are they are doing well. But those that say the pastors will add it to their work, that's where we see the vetting and the, what we call the advice. Most of the time, the pastors give advice, and sometimes they vet as we might put it. But when you go through counseling itself, it really helps. That's what I would say.
All right, so I just want to say a very big thank you to all of you for being part of the program this evening. Albright, I appreciate your coming. Edward, thank you for the experience you have shared with us. Now, viewers, one thing that I will leave you with is Albright doesn't just speak. He actually has a book that's going to guide us, and it says Marriage Wise, a premarital guidance and a marriage diagnostic tool. I believe this will go a long way to help the younger folks wanting to go into marriage. And the advice here is, do not get into it before you go seek counseling. Go counsel to find out whether you can make it before you even decide to marry, if I got it right.
Yes.
All right, so on this note, it's our 13th episode, marks our last episode for the season. I want to say a very big thank you to all of those who have helped to make this program a success. From the set designer, Daniel DeLong, the person who actually did the first design, the name is Sewa, to the producers in the studio, Lorenda, I never forget you, Mary Quest, Peter, Amaka, everybody, Mrs. Doe, Isaac Youngson, and everybody else who has helped for this to become a success. We are coming back bigger. We are coming back bigger next season. And yeah, of course, I almost forgot, Kwame Damte and John. These are the people who speak into my ears even when I'm talking. Shall I tell you guys why? But all the same, it's been fun all these 13 weeks, and we appreciate you also, viewers, being part of it. Thank you. Have a good night. We'll be back with season 2 of the Men's Lounge. Thank you, guys. Good to see you. Nice.